Beneath the shifting sands of Egypt lies a hidden world of chambers untouched for thousands of years. These secret spaces defy everything we think we know about ancient history. This video will uncover the unknown purposes of Egypt's concealed rooms and passageways, taking you on a journey through groundbreaking discoveries and theories that challenge conventional wisdom. By the end, you will see ancient Egypt in a completely new light, questioning the true story behind its greatest monuments. What advanced technology carved granite boxes with impossible precision? And why were some chambers designed to resonate with specific sound frequencies? What do you believe is the greatest secret still buried beneath the sand? The vast expanse of the Egyptian desert is a landscape of illusion. Its golden dunes seem eternal, yet they are constantly moving, revealing and concealing secrets with every gust of wind. Beneath this seemingly barren surface lies an entirely different world, a labyrinthine network of tunnels, tombs, and chambers that remains largely uncharted by modern technology. This hidden geography stretches from the iconic Giza Plateau with its world-famous pyramids to the secluded Valley of the Kings, where pharaohs were laid to rest. For centuries, these spaces were shaped by both nature and human hands. Natural caverns and fissures in the bedrock provided a foundation, which ancient engineers then expanded with astonishing skill, carving precise passageways deep into the earth. They built not just simple rooms but complex multi-level structures, some descending hundreds of feet below the sand. This subterranean landscape is the true heart of ancient Egypt, a silent, dark counterpart to the majestic structures that tower above. To understand the unknown purpose of these chambers, we must first appreciate the sheer scale and ambition of this underground world. It sets the stage for a mystery that began with a single, electrifying discovery. In 1850, a young French archaeologist named Auguste Mariette was working in the desert near Saqqara. Following a trail of ancient accounts and a row of Sphinx statues half buried in the sand, he made a discovery that would send shockwaves through the academic world. He unearthed the entrance to the Serapeum, a colossal subterranean network of tunnels and chambers carved deep into the bedrock. The air inside was still and ancient, holding a secret that had been sealed away for millennia. What he found in those dark halls defied simple explanation. Lined along the passageways were dozens of enormous boxes, each carved from a single block of granite, a material renowned for its hardness. These were not rough-hewn containers. They were sarcophagi of such immense size and weight that their very presence underground seemed to challenge the laws of physics. The lids alone weighed an estimated 30 tons, polished to a mirror-like sheen, and fitted with a precision that modern engineers struggle to replicate. The official explanation was that these monumental boxes were the final resting places for the Apis bulls, sacred animals in ancient Egyptian culture. Yet the sheer over-engineering of these containers sparks a deeper curiosity. Why would a culture, even one revering a sacred animal, go to such extraordinary lengths? The effort required to quarry, transport, shape, and polish this granite with such flawless geometry is almost unimaginable. The interior corners are perfectly square, the surfaces flat to within a fraction of a millimeter, and the corners so sharp they seem machined. How could this be achieved with the simple copper tools and stone hammers that mainstream history attributes to the ancient Egyptians? This is the central puzzle of the Serapeum. Researchers like Christopher Dunn have pointed out that the precision exhibited on these granite boxes is comparable to what we would expect from advanced, computer-controlled machinery today. The craftsmanship suggests a level of technological prowess that simply does not fit our conventional timeline. If these were merely ceremonial tombs, why the obsessive, almost scientific focus on perfection? The staggering effort implies a function far beyond simple storage, pointing toward possibilities that touch on acoustics, energy, or vibrational properties we are only beginning to understand. The discovery of the Serapeum did not just unearth a tomb, it unearthed a profound mystery, forcing us to question the very tools and knowledge possessed by a civilization lost to time. High above the Grand Gallery, a hidden space defies simple explanation. This is the Big Void, a cavernous chamber detected not by physical entry, but by seeing through stone itself. Scientists using muon tomography, a technique that uses cosmic particles to peer deep into solid rock, confirmed its existence. It is a vast emptiness sealed away since the pyramid's construction, a deliberate secret locked in the architecture. Why would the builders go to such extraordinary lengths to create a room no one was ever meant to enter? The silence within these hidden chambers is as profound as any artifact. Unlike the ornate tombs in the Valley of the Kings, these spaces are starkly bare, devoid of hieroglyphs, treasures, or any sign of ceremonial use. This very emptiness is the core of the puzzle, strongly suggesting a purpose that was functional, not funerary. Was this void a sophisticated counterweight, engineered to stabilize the immense structure against internal stresses and shifts over millennia? Or was it a resonance chamber designed to amplify specific sound frequencies for a purpose we can scarcely guess? Mainstream Egyptology, with voices like Zahi Hawass, often leans toward structural explanations, viewing these voids as integral to distributing the pyramid's colossal weight. Yet the sheer precision of their placement challenges this. Alternative researchers propose these chambers could have housed advanced energy devices, harnessing the Earth's natural vibrations, or served as perfectly aligned astronomical instruments for tracking celestial cycles. The pyramid's internal layout may be a physical representation of the soul's journey into the afterlife, with these sealed chambers symbolizing the final, inaccessible realms of the divine. Their emptiness is not an absence of meaning, but a profound statement in itself, a space reserved for forces and functions that transcended the physical world. What function could be so vital yet so secret that it required a chamber built to remain perfectly empty for all time? The silent, empty chambers were never truly empty in the eyes of their creators. For the ancient Egyptians, the stone walls and hidden passages were a bridge between two worlds. They looked to the night sky, a glittering tapestry of fixed stars and wandering planets, and saw a divine blueprint. Their entire civilization was an attempt to recreate that cosmic order here on Earth. This celestial obsession is the key to understanding why a hidden chamber's placement was as important as its construction. Deep within the Pyramid of Unas, for instance, the king's burial chamber is crowned by a ceiling covered in thousands of golden stars. This was not mere decoration. It was a literal star map, a portal designed to connect the ruler's spirit directly with the constellations, guiding his journey into the afterlife. The chamber itself was a vessel, and its alignment with the heavens was the navigational chart for a soul's voyage. This connection goes far beyond a single tomb. Researchers like Robert Bovell proposed a stunning correlation between the three great pyramids of Giza and the three stars of Orion's belt. According to this theory, the pyramids are not just a random grouping, they are a terrestrial mirror of a celestial reality. If the pyramids above ground represent stars, then what of the chambers and shafts hidden within and beneath them? Intricate passageways and air shafts were precisely angled, not for ventilation in the modern sense, but to serve as sightlines targeting specific stars like Sirius and the northern circumpolar stars, which the Egyptians called the imperishable ones. These alignments suggest the entire Giza Plateau was a machine built in stone, its function tied to the clockwork of the cosmos. The hidden chambers were the heart of this machine, rooms where the barrier between earth and sky was meant to dissolve. The ritual purpose was profound. It was believed that by aligning a sealed chamber with a specific constellation, the spiritual essence of a person could be transferred, ascending to take its place among the eternal stars. This was not a passive hope but an active process, a form of spiritual technology. The chamber, perfectly positioned, became a resonant catalyst for this transformation. It was a sacred space where cosmic energies were thought to converge, aiding the soul's passage. This esoteric function moves us beyond seeing these spaces as simple tombs. They were transitory gateways, designed with a precision that served a cosmological ambition we are only beginning to grasp. And if the stars provided the map, then sound may have been the vehicle that carried the soul on its journey, leading us to listen closely to the echoes left behind in these ancient spaces. The silence within these stone chambers is an illusion. When you stand in a space like the King's Chamber of the Great Pyramid and speak, the sound does not simply fade away. It lingers, it amplifies, it transforms into something otherworldly. This is not an accident of construction. It is the hallmark of a forgotten science, a deliberate architectural choice that turns stone into a resonant instrument. Across the Mediterranean, in the hypogeum of Hal-Saflieni in Malta, a labyrinth carved entirely underground, certain chambers are engineered to resonate at the specific frequency of 110 Hz. At this pitch, the very air seems to vibrate within your chest, an experience that researchers suggest can shift brainwave patterns, potentially easing the mind into deep states of meditation or heightened awareness. While no identical chamber has been fully documented in Egypt, the same principle of acoustic design is etched into its subterranean world. The precision-cut granite and limestone surfaces in places like the Serapeum are not just visually perfect, they are acoustically alive. Their hard, smooth faces reflect sound with minimal absorption, creating long, complex reverberations that would have filled the dark spaces with a living, breathing echo. Why would ancient builders go to such lengths? The answer may lie in the power of sound to touch the human spirit. Researchers like John Stuart Reid have used advanced equipment to map the soundscapes within pyramids, proposing that these spaces were designed as giant resonators. Specific frequencies could have been used in ceremonial practices to facilitate spiritual journeys, creating an environment where the boundary between the physical and the metaphysical grew thin. The idea that sound could influence consciousness or even the structure of matter is not just a modern concept. It seems to have been a cornerstone of this ancient technology. The echoes we hear today are faint ghosts of a profound ritual practice, where chanting or the playing of specific instruments used the chamber itself as an amplifier, turning ritual into an immersive, transformative experience. This sophisticated understanding of sound waves points to a culture that saw vibration as a fundamental creative force. To build such spaces required more than architectural genius. It demanded the perfect materials to conduct this ancient symphony. The stone itself holds the most compelling evidence of its own creation. Inside the Osireion at Abydos, one of Egypt's most mysterious subterranean structures, the stone blocks are so immense that their very presence seems to defy logic. The precision with which they were joined is even more baffling. The edges are sharp and clean, the surfaces perfectly flat, meeting with such exactness that you cannot slide a razor blade between them. This is not rough construction, it is a feat of geometry and physics that would challenge modern engineers even with their laser levels and diamond-tipped saws. How was this achieved with the simple copper chisels and stone hammers we are told were the extent of their technology? The walls of these chambers are often eerily clean, lacking the soot marks from torches or the telltale scars from primitive tools that we would expect to find. This puzzling absence fuels a debate that stretches far beyond conventional history. Some researchers point to the incredible hardness of granite, a material so tough that even our modern steel tools wear down quickly when working it. How did an ancient culture quarry, shape, and polish it to a glass-like finish? The mainstream explanation involves immense manpower, using ramps, levers, and countless workers hauling stones on wooden sleds. While this demonstrates incredible human effort, it does not fully account for the microscopic precision on display. Alternative theorists like Graham Hancock suggest a more radical idea. They propose that these structures may be far older than we think, remnants of a sophisticated, pre-existing civilization whose advanced knowledge was later adopted and revered by the dynastic Egyptians we know from the history books. This idea opens the door to lost technologies, perhaps even methods that used sound, vibration, or specific crystals to soften stone, making it pliable for shaping. The sheer, obsessive focus on perfection in these hidden, almost inaccessible chambers forces a single, profound question. What was so critically important to protect or contain within these spaces that it demanded such an unimaginable investment of skill and effort? The construction method is not just a mystery of engineering, it is a direct clue to the unparalleled value of what lay inside. The stone's perfection speaks of a mastery over solid matter, but the ancient engineers also demonstrated an incredible command over something far more fluid. Beneath the iconic pause of the Great Sphinx and deep within the mysterious Osireion at Abydos, evidence points to a sophisticated network of hydraulic engineering. These were not simple wells, but complex subterranean waterways, channels, and watertight chambers carved directly into the bedrock. The Osireion, for instance, features a central platform surrounded by a moat-like channel, a structure that seems designed to be perpetually filled with water. This was a direct architectural reference to the primordial mound of creation, believed to have risen from the infinite, chaotic waters known as Nun. The chamber itself became a symbolic recreation of the first moment of existence, a powerful concept for a culture obsessed with cycles of death and rebirth. But what was the practical function of bringing water so deep underground? On one level, these systems could have managed the region's groundwater, preventing sacred structures from flooding or even providing a source for irrigation. The presence of what appear to be sluice gates and carefully graded channels shows a deep understanding of hydrodynamics, allowing priests or engineers to control the flow with precision. This control could have been used for dramatic ritual effect. Imagine a ceremony where the opening of a hidden gate would cause water to rush through a channel, simulating a miniature, controlled version of the annual Nile flood right within a temple's heart. This event was the lifeblood of Egypt, and to recreate it in a sacred space would have been a potent act of magic and renewal, directly linking the chamber's function to the survival of the entire kingdom. Egyptologists like Mark Lehner have explored how these water features were completely integrated with spiritual beliefs, transforming static chambers into dynamic, living spaces where the elemental power of water was harnessed for both practical and profound spiritual purposes. The chamber was no longer just a room, it was a vessel for the primordial essence of life itself, used in rituals believed to facilitate resurrection and eternal renewal. After exploring the profound role of water, we must now turn to the most transformative and destructive element of all, one that also leaves its mark deep within the earth. The stone and water of these chambers held immense potential, But what if they were designed to channel something even more fundamental? The very rock from which they were carved might have been the key to a forgotten form of power. Certain theories propose that these hidden spaces were not merely tombs or temples, but sophisticated devices for generating and storing energy. Engineers and researchers point to the unique properties of the materials used, particularly the quartz-rich granite found in places like the King's Chamber. Granite is a piezoelectric material, meaning it generates a small electrical charge when subjected to mechanical stress, such as the constant, subtle vibrations of the Earth itself. Could entire chambers have been engineered to act as giant capacitors, accumulating energy from the planet's natural telluric currents? This idea was explored in depth by engineer Christopher Dunn, who proposed that the Great Pyramid of Giza was not a tomb, but a massive, resonant power plant. His hypothesis suggests its intricate internal passages and chambers were designed to vibrate in harmony with the Earth, converting vibrational energy into a usable form. The precision-cut granite boxes in the Serapeum, with their incredible acoustic properties, fit perfectly into this puzzle. They may have been tuned resonators, amplifying specific frequencies to a critical point. What would this energy have been used for? Perhaps it powered something we have yet to imagine. The conspicuous absence of soot or torch marks in many of these deep, sealed chambers is a persistent enigma. If workers and priests never carried flames inside, how did they see? One compelling possibility is that the chambers themselves provided illumination. Hidden niches might have housed arrays of crystalline materials that, when energized by the chamber's resonance, would emit a soft, ethereal light. Alternatively, chemical compounds could have been placed in special basins, reacting to the unique atmospheric or energetic conditions to create a sustained glow for rituals. This would transform a dark, enclosed space into a self-powered, luminous environment, a truly magical spectacle for any initiate. Mainstream archaeology rightly questions these speculative ideas, citing a lack of direct physical evidence for such advanced technology. Yet the debate remains alive precisely because the construction itself is so anomalous. The obsessive focus on acoustic and material perfection seems to serve a purpose far beyond the symbolic. If these chambers were indeed protective vessels for such powerful and potentially volatile processes, then their builders would have gone to equally extraordinary lengths to guard them from intruders. The builders of these hidden chambers protected their secrets with a chilling intelligence. Far beyond simple locked doors, they engineered entire passageways to deceive and deter. Physical traps, while less common than Hollywood suggests, did exist in subtle, ingenious forms. Deep within some pyramid passages, archaeologists have found grooves carved into walls that once held massive, sliding stone slabs. These could be released to seal a corridor permanently, burying the entrance under tons of rock. Other sites reveal false floors that conceal deep pits or narrow, maze-like corridors designed to disorient and exhaust any intruder, leading them in circles until they gave up or became lost in the darkness. These were not just obstacles, they were a final, silent statement that some knowledge was not meant for the uninvited. Yet the most potent guardians were not made of stone, but of belief. The infamous curse of the pharaohs, a warning that death would come to those who disturbed a royal resting place, was a powerful psychological weapon. While the curses themselves may not have held supernatural power, the idea was deeply embedded in the culture. The very act of inscribing such a warning at a tomb's entrance played upon deep-seated fears of divine retribution. For an ancient Egyptian, the threat was real, a potent deterrent that protected sacred spaces long after the priests were gone. This reveals a profound insight. The most secure lock is the one placed inside the human mind. Archaeological evidence shows this protective instinct everywhere. passages were meticulously sealed from the inside with rubble and plaster, creating a barrier that looked like a solid wall. Builders constructed entire decoy chambers, lavish but empty rooms meant to convince robbers they had found the main treasure and should look no further. All this elaborate effort points to one undeniable fact: the contents of these chambers were considered invaluable. The protection was not for gold or jewels alone, but for something far more significant: knowledge, spiritual power, or technology that the civilization felt was crucial to protect. What could possibly warrant such an immense and multi-layered defense? The answer lies in the few artifacts that survived, waiting just beyond these ancient guardians. Sometimes the most revealing clue is not what is found, but what is absent. The dark, silent halls of the Serapeum hold a prime example. Inside these colossal granite boxes, archaeologists expected to find the remains of the sacred Apis bulls, yet many of these immense sarcophagi were completely empty. There were no ceremonial offerings, no inscriptions, not even a trace of the organic material one would associate with such a purpose. This profound emptiness is itself a message. It suggests that the true value of these chambers was not in what they physically contained, but in the experience they facilitated, perhaps as resonant chambers for rituals of transformation where the presence of a physical body was secondary to the activation of spiritual energy. Further clues come from the few objects that were left behind. In other subterranean complexes, workers have uncovered strange, non-functional artifacts, items that defy easy categorization. There are stone vessels carved with such thin, delicate walls that they seem too fragile for any practical use, pointing toward a symbolic or ritual function. Other chambers yielded collections of carefully shaped crystals or polished spheres of rare rock, objects that resonate with theories about energy harnessing or celestial observation. Perhaps the most tantalizing modern investigation was the Jedi project, where a compact robot was sent into one of the Great Pyramid's narrow, inaccessible shafts. The camera, snaking its way through the ancient limestone, did not find a hidden treasure room. Instead, it revealed hieroglyphs painted in red ochre, markings left by the original builders, and a small, intricately designed copper handle embedded in a stone block. This was not a random tool, it was a deliberate fixture, a piece of a mechanism whose purpose remains just out of reach. These fragments form a puzzle where most of the pieces are missing. The scarcity of artifacts in many of these spaces strongly implies they were meticulously cleaned out at the end of their use, or that they were never intended to hold ordinary items at all. Their function was symbolic, energetic, or transient. The chambers served as vessels for activities that left no physical trace, only an echo in the architecture. To decode these clues, we must look beyond the idea of storage and see these spaces as active instruments. The empty sarcophagus becomes a resonant chamber for sound, the crystal spheres become focal points for energy, and the sealed shaft becomes a sightline to a specific star. Every artifact and every lack of one pulls us toward the same conclusion, that the ultimate purpose of these hidden rooms was to serve as a bridge, a carefully engineered gateway between the world of the living and the realm of the divine. These hidden chambers were far more than silent tombs. They were conceived as active portals to the Duat, the complex and mysterious Egyptian underworld. In this spiritual landscape, the soul of the departed was believed to navigate a series of challenges and judgments before achieving rebirth. The architecture of the chambers was a physical guide for this perilous journey. Deep inside the pyramid of King Unas, the walls are not blank stone. They are covered from floor to ceiling in intricate hieroglyphs, known as the pyramid texts. These were not simple decorations. They were a collection of spells, maps, and incantations. a detailed script designed to protect and direct the king's spirit, providing the words to speak and the paths to follow in the world beyond. The very layout of these spaces mirrored the spiritual voyage. Narrow, steeply rising corridors, often called ascension passages, were not just architectural necessities. They were a deliberate recreation of the difficult climb the soul had to make, a physical manifestation of a metaphysical struggle. Egyptologists like Eric Hornung explain how this design blurred the line between a tomb and a temple. The chamber was an interactive ritual space where the boundaries between life, death, and eternity were intentionally dissolved. This profound spiritual purpose, however, was not always understood by the cultures that followed. Later civilizations encountering these sealed and empty spaces were left to weave their own interpretations from the fragments of a forgotten truth. The intricate spiritual technology of the ancient Egyptians was lost to the shifting sands of time, only to be rediscovered centuries later through a completely different lens. When medieval European travelers, from crusading knights to scholarly monks, first encountered the monumental ruins of Egypt, they saw them not through the eyes of history, but through the prism of their own beliefs. They interpreted the tales of hidden chambers and sealed passages as evidence of biblical prophecy or as secret vaults holding the lost wisdom of antiquity. For these medieval minds, the pyramids were not tombs of pharaohs, but the granaries of Joseph, built to store grain during the 7 years of famine described in the book of Genesis. This reinterpretation transformed the silent, empty chambers from spiritual gateways into pragmatic, yet still miraculous storehouses. The very emptiness of these spaces fueled their imaginations, suggesting that something of immense value had once been inside or was still waiting to be found. This belief sparked quests that blended pilgrimage with treasure hunting, as Europeans began to project their deepest yearnings onto the ancient stone. The hidden chambers became repositories for all manner of legendary artifacts, from the Ark of the Covenant to the Holy Grail itself, their original purposes completely overshadowed by a new, potent mythology. This fusion of history and legend was powerfully advanced by writers like Geoffrey of Monmouth, who wove Egyptian mysteries into the fabric of European lore, connecting them to the legends of King Arthur and his knights. The idea of a hidden chamber was no longer just an architectural feature. It was a symbol of ultimate truth, a sealed room containing knowledge that could transform the world. This medieval fascination was deeply intertwined with the rise of alchemy and the study of Hermetic traditions, texts believed to hold the secrets of the universe, passed down from a mythical sage known as Hermes Trismegistus, who was often conflated with the Egyptian god Thoth. To the alchemists, the pyramids and their subterranean labyrinths were the ultimate laboratory, a place where the secrets of matter and spirit could be unlocked. The perfect geometry and precise alignments of the chambers were not for celestial navigation, but for spiritual transmutation, a process to turn base human consciousness into gold. This reinterpretation, while a distortion of the original Egyptian intent, served a vital purpose. It preserved the idea that these structures held profound power, ensuring that the fascination with them would never completely die. The medieval world, in its quest for relics and wisdom, became an unexpected guardian of the mystery, passing the torch of curiosity through the centuries. Their legends, born from a fundamental misunderstanding, kept the door to the past slightly ajar, setting the stage for a future where science would attempt to pick the lock. The silent legends of the medieval alchemists have finally met their match in the quiet hum of modern machinery. Today, we are no longer relying on ancient maps or hopeful speculation to find what is hidden. We are using cosmic particles and laser light to see through solid stone. One of the most revolutionary tools is muon radiography. This technique relies on muons, subatomic particles that are constantly raining down from the Earth's atmosphere, passing through solid objects much like X-rays pass through flesh. By placing sensitive detectors inside known chambers, like the King's Chamber of the Great Pyramid, scientists can measure how many muons pass through the surrounding stone. A higher than expected count indicates a void, an empty space where the muons encountered less resistance. It was this very method that, in 2017, confirmed the existence of the Big Void, a massive, previously unknown chamber deep within the pyramid's heart. This was not a discovery made by digging, but by reading the whispers of the universe itself. Alongside this cosmic vision, teams use three-dimensional laser scanning to create perfect digital replicas of known chambers. Millions of laser points map every crack and contour, building a millimeter-perfect model that can be studied from every angle, revealing alignments and architectural secrets invisible to the naked eye. The International Scan Pyramids project has employed these and other methods, uncovering several significant anomalies whose precise functions remain a complete mystery. The data is clear: the stones are hiding more than we ever knew. This non-invasive approach is crucial. It allows us to investigate these fragile, irreplaceable sites without ever touching a chisel, preserving them for future generations while satisfying our own deep curiosity. Yet, for every answer this technology provides, it seems to pose two new questions. The discovery of a void does not tell us what it was for, only that it is there. The data presents a cold, hard fact, but the interpretation of that fact is where the real debate begins. Are these newly found spaces structural relief chambers, sealed construction gaps, or something far more significant? The scans provide the evidence, but not the meaning, forcing Egyptologists, engineers, and independent researchers to re-evaluate long-held theories with this new, tantalizing information. We are now in a unique position, armed with objective data that allows us to test the most controversial ideas about energy resonance, advanced engineering, and celestial alignment with a rigor that was never before possible. The stones are beginning to speak, not in words, but in three-dimensional data points and cosmic particle flows, and what they are saying is that our story of ancient Egypt is still missing entire chapters. The silence of these chambers has proven fertile ground for theories that stretch the very boundaries of history itself. When faced with engineering that seems to defy our understanding of the past, some researchers have looked to the stars for an answer. Figures like Erich von Däniken have famously proposed that the impossible precision of the granite boxes and the celestial alignments of the pyramids are not human achievements at all, but the work of extraterrestrial visitors. In this view, these hidden spaces are not tombs, but perhaps landing bays, power stations, or communication hubs left behind by advanced beings. The appeal of this idea is powerful, offering a neat solution to the puzzle of how such feats were accomplished with primitive tools. It transforms the ancient Egyptian from a builder into a custodian of technology they could scarcely comprehend. Yet, this perspective is almost universally dismissed by mainstream scholars, who argue it strips a vibrant, ingenious culture of its own monumental accomplishments. A different but equally controversial school of thought looks not to the stars, but to a lost chapter on our own planet. Writers like Graham Hancock suggest these structures are the legacy of a sophisticated global civilization, perhaps remembered in myth as Atlantis, that was wiped out by a cataclysm like a comet impact at the end of the last ice age. The survivors of this advanced culture, he proposes, traveled the world, seeding their knowledge among emerging societies like the Egyptians, who then built upon this inherited wisdom. The hidden chambers in this narrative are not the beginning of a civilization's journey, but the elegant end point of a much older one. these alternative ideas, while often marginalized in academic circles, serve a crucial purpose. They force us to confront the genuine anomalies that conventional explanations sometimes struggle to address. They challenge the rigid timeline of human history and open the door to possibilities that mainstream archaeology is only beginning to cautiously explore. The debate between established history and these speculative visions is not merely a clash of facts, but a fundamental disagreement about the nature of human progress and the potential for knowledge to be lost. By engaging with these controversial claims, we are not necessarily accepting them as truth, but we are acknowledging that the story of our past may be far more complex and far more wondrous than any single textbook can contain. This broader inquiry inevitably leads us back from the stars to the earth, to the very human motivations of power and wealth that likely drove the creation of these mysterious spaces in the first place. The immense stone chambers were more than spiritual engines, they were the bedrock of royal authority. A pharaoh's power was not measured solely by the monuments visible under the sun, but by the secrets secured in the darkness below. By controlling access to these hidden spaces, a ruler controlled the narrative of divine connection itself. Within a sealed chamber far from public view, a private ritual could be performed, an event known only to a select few priests and the king. This secrecy created an aura of unassailable authority, convincing the population that their leader possessed a direct line to the gods, a legitimacy that was impossible to challenge. The very existence of such a room was a political statement carved in stone. This control extended to the most practical matters of state. Consider the sprawling temple of Karnak, a complex that functioned as both a religious heart and a political nerve center. Deep within its labyrinthine walls, secure chambers likely served as the kingdom's most protected archives and treasuries. Here, the scrolls recording tax collections, land deeds, and diplomatic treaties would be stored alongside gold, grain reserves, and tribute from foreign lands. This physical consolidation of knowledge and wealth was the ultimate symbol of a stable, powerful government. To control the hidden chamber was to control the lifeblood of the nation, ensuring that the state's economic and administrative machinery remained firmly in the hands of the elite. The construction of these spaces was itself a breathtaking display of this power. To commission a single hidden chamber required the mobilization of thousands of workers, from quarrymen and engineers to artists and scribes. It demanded control over vast supply chains for food, water, and tools, and the logistical genius to manage it all for years, even decades. This was not just architecture, it was a sustained, monumental project that demonstrated the pharaoh's absolute command over human and material resources. The chamber's secrecy ensured that the mystical source of this power remained inaccessible, while its very creation proved the ruler's earthly dominance beyond any doubt. This fusion of spiritual mystery and political pragmatism was woven directly into the fabric of the city. A hidden treasury beneath a temple reinforced that the gods sanctioned the state's wealth. A secret ritual chamber aligned with a specific star asserted that cosmic order supported the pharaoh's rule. The placement of these spaces was never random. It was a deliberate act of urban planning designed to project an image of an eternal, divinely supported kingdom. To walk through an ancient Egyptian city was to move through a landscape where every visible monument was supported by an invisible foundation of power, a hidden world that guaranteed the order of the one above. The grand avenues and sun-baked temples of ancient cities like Memphis were merely the surface of a far deeper design. Beneath the feet of its citizens lay a hidden city, a network of chambers and tunnels that formed the true backbone of urban life. This subterranean infrastructure was a masterpiece of pragmatic planning. Vast, climate-controlled granaries were dug deep into the earth, their cool, stable temperatures perfect for preserving the kingdom's vital grain reserves against famine. Elaborate water channels and cisterns carved directly into the bedrock ensured a reliable supply for both the population and the lush temple gardens, turning these sacred spaces into symbols of life and abundance even during the harshest drought. But this hidden world also served a more urgent purpose. Secret, fortified passages connected royal palaces directly to riverside docks or remote desert exits, providing the ruling family with guaranteed escape routes during a siege or internal uprising. The survival of the state itself depended on these unseen pathways. This practical genius was seamlessly woven into the spiritual fabric of the city. The same network that moved grain and water also connected the palace to the inner sanctums of major temples. A pharaoh could move from his seat of power to a hidden ceremonial chamber without ever being seen by the public, performing a ritual in absolute secrecy before returning to his throne. This physical connection between palace and temple was a powerful statement, a constant reminder that political rule and divine will were two sides of the same coin. The chamber was not an isolated mystery, but a single, vital component in a city-wide machine designed for eternal operation. This incredible urban design, however, was not the work of abstract forces, but of countless skilled hands whose own stories are etched into the very stones they placed. The colossal stones and hidden chambers did not build themselves. Behind every perfect joint and precisely angled corridor stood the hands and minds of a highly organized society of builders. Far from the popular image of a slave-driven workforce, evidence from sites like the village of Deir el-Medina paints a different picture. This was a purpose-built community for the artisans and laborers who worked on the royal tombs in the Valley of the Kings. Their homes, nestled in a secluded desert valley, were not the squalid quarters of the oppressed, but the dwellings of respected, skilled professionals. They left behind a treasure far more revealing than gold, thousands of ostraca. These simple limestone flakes, used as notepads, are covered in sketches, personal letters, and work records. Here we find a caricature of the foreman, a shopping list for fish, or a practice piece for a hieroglyphic sign. These humble notes reveal the vibrant humanity of the people who carved eternity into the rock, showing they took pride in their craft and lived full, complex lives. The workforce was structured into crews with names like the Friends or the Gang, who worked in rotating shifts and were paid in rations of grain, bread, fish, and beer, even receiving medical care for on-the-job injuries. This was not brute force labor, it was a national project of immense cultural importance, managed with bureaucratic efficiency. The true marvel is how this knowledge was preserved and transmitted. The ability to quarry, shape, and position multi-ton blocks with such precision was not learned from a manual. It was a living tradition, passed directly from master to apprentice, from father to son, over countless generations. This generational expertise created an unbroken chain of skill, allowing for the continuous refinement of techniques that still baffle us today. Yet, for all their collective achievement, these master builders remain largely anonymous. We know the names of the pharaohs who commissioned the work, but the names of the individual engineers who solved the problems of acoustics and alignment are lost to us. Honoring these unknown creators forces us to see these chambers not as miraculous accidents, but as the culmination of human ingenuity, devotion, and organized effort. This incredible legacy, carved in stone, was then entrusted to the most powerful and patient guardian of all, the desert itself, whose natural forces have worked for millennia to both conceal and preserve their work. The desert is a perfect guardian, at once concealing and preserving with an impartial hand. Its endless dunes create a natural seal, a dry, stable environment that has protected these hidden chambers for thousands of years. While ancient cities built of mud brick crumbled and wooden artifacts in wetter climates turned to dust, the arid Egyptian air acted as a stopping of time. Organic materials that would have vanished elsewhere, from fragile papyrus scrolls to delicate linen wrappings, were often found intact, their stories waiting patiently in the dark. This incredible dryness also maintained the structural integrity of the chambers themselves, preventing the moisture-induced erosion that slowly eats away at stone in other parts of the world. The very sand that buried entrances also shielded them from the most destructive force of all, human interference, keeping countless spaces hidden from looters for millennia. Yet this preservation is a delicate lottery. The environment is not always a gentle protector. Occasional, violent flash floods have scoured through desert valleys, their torrents capable of burying a chamber entrance under tons of debris in a single night or, in rarer instances, collapsing a fragile passageway entirely. The ground itself is not always still. Minor seismic shifts over the centuries have subtly altered the alignment of some corridors, while in other places they have caused entire sections of ceiling to fall, creating impassable blockages that guard their secrets even more stubbornly. This is the great irony of Egyptian archaeology. The same desert that saved these spaces also made them profoundly difficult to find, ensuring that every discovery is a triumph of both technology and sheer luck. This environmental guardianship leads directly to a profound modern question, one that every archaeologist must confront. When we find a chamber that the desert has kept sealed for ages, do we have the right to open it? The moment we break that ancient seal, we let in modern air, humidity, and light, forces that can begin a process of decay in mere days. There is a powerful ethical weight to this decision. Is our curiosity, our thirst for knowledge, worth the potential loss of something that has survived intact for 5,000 years? The choice to uncover a secret is also the choice to end its perfect preservation, a responsibility that rests heavily on the shoulders of those who hold the keys. A single breath can change history. Inside a chamber sealed for millennia, the very air we exhale carries carbon dioxide and moisture that can cloud ancient paintings, causing vibrant pigments to flake and fade forever. This is the delicate ethical dilemma facing every archaeologist who stands before a sealed door. The choice to enter is a point of no return, a balance between gaining irreplaceable knowledge and causing irreversible harm. The legendary opening of Tutankhamun's tomb in 1922 serves as a powerful lesson from the past. While the world marveled at the golden treasures, the rapid exposure to the outside environment began a slow, unseen decay on organic materials that had been perfectly preserved in the dry, stable tomb air for over 3,000 years. Modern archaeology has learned from this, now employing meticulous techniques to mitigate damage. Researchers might create a controlled environment surrounding a delicate site with a tent filled with inert gas, or they might choose to never physically enter at all, instead sending in tiny robots equipped with cameras and sensors to map the space in perfect detail. This allows for virtual reconstructions that can be studied by anyone in the world without a single grain of sand being disturbed. Yet the debate within the field remains intense and deeply personal. On one side are those who argue for immediate, careful exploration. They believe that the knowledge locked within these chambers is too vital to wait for, and that with current non-invasive methods, the risks can be managed. The opposing view urges profound patience, suggesting we leave certain sites completely untouched. Their reasoning is compelling. Why open a chamber today with our limited tools when the scientists of the next century might have technologies that allow them to see its contents without even breaking the seal, preserving everything in its original state for a future generation with far greater understanding? This is not merely a scientific argument, it is a philosophical one about our responsibility to the past and to the future. It forces us to ask what we value more, the immediate satisfaction of discovery or the certainty of preservation for those who will come after us. This tension between knowing and protecting defines the modern quest, setting the stage for the specific chambers whose secrets are so profound. They have been kept from us not just by sand, but by our own conscious choice to wait. The bent pyramid at Dosha stands as a permanent question mark in the desert. Its bizarre shape, abruptly changing angles halfway up its height, makes it an architectural anomaly among Egypt's straight-sided monuments. This unique form suggests a story of adaptation, perhaps a correction made after the foundations showed signs of stress, but the true secrets are held within its walls. Deep inside, the pyramid's internal layout is just as unconventional as its exterior. Instead of a simple passage leading to a single burial chamber, it contains a complex arrangement of rooms and corridors that defy the standard blueprint. The most enigmatic of these is the upper chamber, a space sealed away from the world for over 4,500 years. Its inaccessibility was by design, reached only by a narrow, steep shaft that began high on the pyramid's northern face, a daunting climb into the heart of the stone. For centuries, this room existed only as a theoretical space, a hollow mystery waiting in the dark. When archaeologists finally managed to enter in the 20th century, they found a room of breathtaking construction. The ceiling was a masterpiece of corbelling, with each layer of stone carefully stepped inward until the walls met at a peak, creating a soaring, stable vault. Yet this architectural marvel was completely empty. There was no sarcophagus, no funerary goods, no inscriptions, not a single artifact to explain why such a magnificent space was created. This profound emptiness is the core of the mystery. Was this a failed burial chamber, abandoned by a pharaoh for a more perfect tomb elsewhere, or was its purpose never about containing a physical body at all? The chamber's design and difficult access point toward a deeply symbolic function. Perhaps it was a ritual space representing the final, most challenging stage of the pharaoh's journey into the afterlife, a sealed room where the spirit alone would complete its transformation. The very act of constructing such an inaccessible room, one that required immense effort for no apparent practical gain, hints at a purpose rooted in spiritual necessity rather than physical utility. Its alignment might have been tuned to a specific celestial event, a star that held special meaning for the king, Snofru, turning the empty chamber into a precise astronomical instrument aimed at the heavens. This singular, puzzling structure reminds us that even the most well-known sites are filled with unresolved questions. It encourages us to look closer at the lesser-explored locations, where the sands may be hiding answers that rewrite our understanding of the past. The grandeur of Giza often overshadows a hidden network of chambers stretching far across the Egyptian landscape. Far to the south, in the sprawling Dakar oasis, archaeologists have uncovered entire subterranean settlements carved directly into the earth. These were not tombs for kings, but vibrant communities living in multi-level homes, storage cellars, and connected tunnels, all hidden from the desert sun. This discovery fundamentally challenges the idea that such underground engineering was reserved solely for the dead or the divine in the royal capitals. It reveals a practical, widespread tradition of living beneath the sand, adapted for survival in an unforgiving climate. These oasis dwellings show a different side of Egyptian life, where hidden chambers served as cool, protected spaces for families, workshops, and storing food, suggesting the practice was deeply embedded in the culture from the highest pharaoh to the most remote villager. Another site of legendary mystery is the Hawara labyrinth, described in awe by the ancient Greek historian Herodotus. He wrote of a colossal complex near the pyramid of Amenemhat III, a structure with 3,000 rooms, half above ground and half below, a maze so intricate that no one could find their way out without a guide. While the stone from the site was quarried in later centuries, leaving a vast, empty foundation, geophysical surveys have hinted at massive subterranean foundations. If even a fraction of Herodotus's account is true, what was the purpose of such an immense underground network? It may have served as a grand administrative center, a secure place to hold regional tax records and grain stores, or as a pilgrimage site with a unique chamber for every local deity in the Egyptian pantheon. Then there is Tanis, a city that became a royal capital late in Egyptian history. Here, French archaeologist Pierre Montet discovered intact royal tombs buried within the city's great temple, a deviation from the hidden valleys of Thebes. While the discovery was spectacular, the tombs themselves raised new questions. Their construction and contents were rich, yet they seemed almost rushed, built in a time of shifting power. The chambers at Tanis show how the purpose of these hidden spaces could change with political necessity, becoming strongholds of regional authority when the traditional centers of power waned. Each of these lesser-known sites adds a new piece to the puzzle. The hidden chambers were not a single, monolithic tradition. They were storage for taxes, homes for the living, safe houses for sacred animals, and fortresses for regional governors. This incredible diversity in function points to a society whose entire structure, from its economy to its spirituality, was supported by a world it kept just out of sight. The stone walls of these hidden chambers absorbed more than just silence. They held the rhythm of daily life and whispered prayer. While we often picture these spaces as eternal tombs, they served as vibrant centers of activity for the living, particularly for the priests who maintained the delicate balance of the universe. Deep within temple complexes like Edfu and Philae, crypts accessible only to the highest-ranking elite were stages for intricate daily rituals. Here, in the flickering torchlight, priests performed offering ceremonies, presenting food, drink, and sacred incense to the statues of the gods believed to inhabit these secluded spaces. The act was not merely symbolic, it was a practical necessity for maintaining Maat, the cosmic order that prevented the world from descending into chaos. The scent of Kai-Fi incense, a complex blend of 16 ingredients including honey, wine, and juniper, would have filled the air, a sensory signal that the divine was present. These chambers also functioned as oracles where a priest, often in a state of deep meditation or ritual isolation, would seek divine guidance on matters of state, harvest, or health. The artifacts left behind tell this story clearly. Ritual vessels for libations, delicate incense burners, and even small, portable altars have been found in these rooms, all pointing to their active, daily use. For the initiates who were permitted entry, the experience was transformative. The isolation, the darkness, and the resonant acoustics of the stone chamber were all carefully engineered to facilitate a shift in consciousness, a direct encounter with the divine that was both a privilege and a profound responsibility. This was where the gods were believed to interact directly with humanity, a sacred interface hidden from the public eye. The chamber was a living instrument, its daily use ensuring the sun would rise, the Nile would flood, and the kingdom would prosper. From these intimate, daily acts of devotion, the focus would inevitably expand to the grand, state-shaping ceremonies that defined entire eras. These hidden chambers could transform in an instant from silent sanctuaries into stages for grand, state-shifting ceremonies. During the annual Opet festival in Thebes, the normally secluded corridors beneath the great temple of Karnak would pulse with life. A grand procession of priests, soldiers, and dancers would escort the sacred statue of the god Ammon from its public shrine into the deepest, most concealed parts of the temple complex. This was not a simple parade, it was a ritual of cosmic renewal. The statue was brought into a specific subterranean chamber, a symbolic womb of creation, where it was believed to be rejuvenated, its divine power restored for the coming year. In this context, the chamber was no longer a static room, but a dynamic theater of religion. The architecture was designed to enhance the spectacle. Strategically placed niches held oil lamps, their flickering light casting dramatic, moving shadows across relief-carved walls that depicted the gods themselves. Polished metal mirrors might have been used to reflect and multiply the light, creating an illusion of a boundless, shimmering realm. The sound of rhythmic chanting, the clatter of sistrum rattles, and the deep tones of ceremonial horns would have filled the resonant space, the stone walls amplifying the music into an overwhelming sensory experience. For the participants, this was not a reenactment, it was a direct participation in the renewal of the universe. The ceremony served a profound social purpose, reinforcing the divine authority of the pharaoh, who was at the center of the rites, and uniting the community in a shared, awe-inspiring event. The hidden chamber, in these moments, became the very engine of cultural identity, a place where the cosmic order was made visible and tangible. This transformation from empty silence to vibrant ritual forces us to reconsider the very nature of these spaces. Were they designed to be empty, or were they designed to be filled with a temporary, sacred energy that was never meant to be permanently contained? The chamber's true purpose may have been to serve as a vessel for experiences, not objects, a concept that challenges our modern, material view of the past. These hidden chambers were the ultimate expression of a culture that lived in two worlds at once. For the ancient Egyptians, the entire physical universe was merely one layer of a far richer, deeper reality. This principle of duality was woven into the fabric of their thought, where every visible object had an invisible counterpart. Every action in this life resonated in the next, and the sun's daily journey across the sky mirrored the soul's eternal cycle. The staggering investment in spaces no one was meant to see reveals a profound philosophical truth, that the metaphysical was not an abstract idea, but a tangible force as vital as the Nile's flood. The invisible was, in fact, more important than the visible, for it was the source from which all visible things drew their power and meaning. This worldview, which scholars like Janus Mann refer to as a form of cosmotheism, saw the divine order, or mat, as the underlying framework of everything. A hidden chamber was a deliberate puncture in the veil between worlds, a place where this divine order could be accessed, reinforced, and celebrated. It was a philosophical statement carved in stone, asserting that true reality exists just beyond the reach of our ordinary senses. This belief system shaped Egyptian civilization from the grandest scale to the most personal. In governance, it justified the pharaoh's absolute authority, as he was the chief priest maintaining this cosmic balance. For the individual, it encouraged a life oriented toward eternal principles of truth and harmony, where one's actions were judged not just by society, but by the unchanging laws of the universe. The chamber was a school for the soul, teaching that the material world is temporary, while the spiritual realm is everlasting. This deep, pervasive philosophy challenges our modern, material-focused perspective. We are left to wonder if we have lost something essential, a sense that the world is more than what we can measure and weigh. The silent, empty chambers are not voids, but profound invitations to look deeper. They ask us to consider what unseen realities we are building our own lives upon, and what legacies we are sealing away for the future to discover. As we stand at the threshold of these ancient spaces, their greatest secret may not be a hidden artifact, but a forgotten way of seeing the world itself, a perspective where the invisible is given its due weight and honor. The stones have kept their secrets for millennia, but our tools for listening are growing more sophisticated by the day. A new wave of exploration is poised to unlock Egypt's deepest mysteries, driven by international teams and technologies that once belonged to science fiction. The Scan Pyramids mission is set to continue its muon tomography work, aiming to create a complete three-dimensional map of the Great Pyramid's internal structure, finally revealing the precise dimensions and potential entrance points to the Big Void. Simultaneously, marine archaeologists are preparing to survey the submerged ruins near Alexandria's ancient coastline, where palaces and libraries are believed to lie under the sea, their hidden chambers protected by water instead of sand. These are not isolated efforts. Researchers from Japan, France, Germany, and Egypt are pooling expertise and funding, forming collaborations that make it possible to investigate sites once considered too dangerous or financially impossible to reach. They are deploying autonomous drones to map unstable tunnels and using artificial intelligence to sift through mountains of geological and archaeological data, searching for patterns the human eye would miss. The driving force behind this global endeavor is a short list of profound, unanswered questions. What, if anything, rests inside the Big Void? Does the Sphinx guard a network of chambers, as some legends suggest? And could there be an older layer of construction hidden beneath the foundations we already know? Each of these puzzles holds the potential to fundamentally alter our historical timeline. The possibility of finding an undisturbed chamber, perhaps containing records or artifacts from a lost age, fuels the imagination of every researcher in the field. This forward momentum transforms archaeology from a study of the past into a living, breathing pursuit of discovery. It ensures that the story of ancient Egypt is not a closed book, but a narrative with new chapters being written right now. As we stand on the brink of these potential revelations, the scattered pieces of the puzzle we have gathered so far begin to form a clearer, more astonishing picture. These hidden chambers were never meant to serve a single, simple purpose. They are a profound synthesis of stone, spirit, and society, a complex tapestry where construction, symbolism, and function are woven into one inseparable whole. The impossible precision of the granite boxes speaks of an advanced understanding of physics, while their celestial alignments reveal a deep spiritual yearning. The practical management of water and grain below a city supported the kingdom's survival, even as the secret rituals performed in those same spaces affirmed the cosmic order that justified its existence. Each piece of evidence we uncover, from the cosmic scan of a void to a worker's humble sketch on a limestone flake, adds a new thread to this magnificent, unfinished picture. The chambers were tombs, yes, but they were also power centers, resonant instruments, sacred gateways, and economic vaults, their primary purpose shifting with the needs of each pharaoh and the passing of every era. This very complexity is the clearest message from the past. The ancient Egyptians did not compartmentalize their world. For them, the act of quarrying a stone with perfect geometry was a spiritual practice, and aligning a passage with a star was a form of precise engineering. Their worldview was holistic, seeing no division between the technical and the transcendental. The persistence of these mysteries is not a failure of our research, but a testament to their staggering ingenuity. They built these spaces to operate on multiple levels of reality at once, designed to endure not just in physical form, but in the realm of legend and wonder. This leads us to a final, humbling realization. The true value of this search may not lie in a single, definitive answer waiting to be unearthed. The journey of questioning, of piecing together the puzzle, itself connects us to the minds of those ancient builders. We are participating in the same eternal human quest for meaning that they encoded in stone. Our pursuit of their secrets keeps their legacy alive, ensuring that the silent guardians beneath the sand continue to challenge and inspire us, reminding us that the greatest treasures are often not what we find, but what we become in the search for them. From the impossible granite boxes of the Serapeum to the silent, resonant voids of the Great Pyramid, these hidden chambers form a profound and continuous challenge to our understanding of the past. They stand as monuments not just to a civilization's spiritual ambition, but to a technological prowess that we are still struggling to measure with our modern tools. The staggering precision of their construction, the celestial wisdom in their alignment, and the sheer will it took to build them whisper of a story far richer than any single narrative we have yet written. Every sealed door and empty sarcophagus is an invitation to look deeper, to question the established timeline and consider possibilities that blend advanced science with sacred purpose. This journey beneath the sand reveals that the unknown purpose of these spaces is their greatest gift to us, a perpetual catalyst for exploration that marries rigorous science with a sense of boundless wonder. The search is far from over. With every new technology, from cosmic particle detectors to artificial intelligence, we gain fresh eyes to see through the stone, ensuring that the story of ancient Egypt will never be complete. Let these mysteries inspire your own curiosity. What do you believe lies waiting in the next undiscovered chamber? Share your own theories and questions in the comments below, for it is in this shared exploration that the past truly comes alive. Thank you for joining this deep dive into the secrets beneath the sand. If these enigmas have sparked your imagination, subscribe for more journeys into the great puzzles of our shared history. Remember, every grain of sand may hide a new clue, and the next great discovery could be just one question away.